Hello everybody and welcome back to my second channel. Woo! It's not really welcome back because it's just the first week of this YouTube channel because the last video I posted was a fake video, like trying to be Aaron. We know the situation by now, hopefully, unless you're new. In which case, I tried to make a fake friend called Aaron and tried to get away with making it seem like I was a completely different person. But then I gave up on the idea. So, so this is going to be the first top 10 of my YouTube channel. Like of the weekly uploads. So, today's video, as you read by the title, is my top 10 favorite Pokemon. So I actually have this already as a list, so I may have to check it a couple times. So you may see some random cuts, but that's because sometimes I have to check. We're gonna start off with some honorable mentions. Okay, so I want to right now apologize for the fact that I don't have enough equipment to make like this professional, so you're gonna see some like weird stuff, but it's fine. So the honorable mentions, first is Lapras, Charizard, Nuzleaf, Scyther, Emboar, Rayquaza, Darkrai, and Tapu Koko. So let's just start off with Lapras first. Lapras is it's just such a well-designed Pokemon that I feel like it had to make the list, but then I found more Pokemon that I like way better. Charizard is an icon of Pokemon and easily one of the coolest looking Pokemon. Nuzleaf doesn't look very good, like his design isn't that great, but I have some sentimental attachment because in Omega Ruby, which was the first Pokemon game I really got to experience, like when I was into Pokemon, like when I was really into Pokemon, and one of the lead members was Acorn, and he was a Seedot that I caught as like my third Pokemon and eventually became a Nuzleaf, but I had to have him replaced for some better Pokemon. Scyther is awesome. What can I say? Like, he has two scythes as hands, and that's awesome. Plus, he could fly. Well, according to the Pokedex, at least. But not according to the games. Emboar. This one might scratch some heads, because Emboar is typically very, very despised by most people. But I really like him, actually. I get that some people say he's ugly, which I'm not gonna lie, his 3D model is extremely ugly, but I think like the picture that I'm displaying here looks so cool. Plus, he's the starter I used because Tepig just so happens to be the one that I found, I found the best because I was going for cute, and though Oshawott was way cuter, I still felt like Tepig, like after I learned what he evolved into, I thought Tepig would be a lot better because I thought Emboar looked really cool. So, again, sentimental attachment. Rayquaza, it speaks for itself. Darkrai, he just looks so cool. Okay, he's amazing. And also, guys, you're going to notice there's a lot of Gen 3 favoritism, but that's because that's my favorite generation. So, well, actually, technically it's 6 because my favorite game is Omega Ruby. But, hey. So Darkrai is incredible. Again, an incredibly designed Pokemon with an awesome backstory. And Tapu Koko just looks really cool. Plus, its shiny is so nice. Sorry, guys, I forgot to add one in. And that one is Sceptile. Now, Sceptile, for me, is so cool just because his design, simply his design is so cool. And I actually had a hard time choosing between him and my favorite Pokemon on this list. Hint, hint, it's actually one of the Gen 3 starters. So that's actually a little spoilery, but still, I had a hard time choosing between him and that certain Pokemon that I have at number 1. really took me a while to choose whether I wanted to pick this Pokemon or the other one. But then I ended up going, the other one is my favorite Pokemon, so I'm going to choose this. But Sceptile forever will definitely be one of the best Pokemon ever. Now let's go on to the real list, starting with number 10. Number 10. Number 10 is Deoxys. Deoxys, it just looks so cool. I don't understand how anyone could find this thing ugly looking. It looks awesome. That thing in its chest gives me like Iron Man vibes, which is definitely my favorite superhero. Oh, I just spoiled another list that I could have made. I would say Deoxys just looks cool, and that's the main reason. But also, his moveset in Omega Ruby is pretty overpowered in the first thing, and you get him when he's at level 80. 80! That's insane. And, like, the DNA arms, I find them so cool. And even if sometimes I don't find them that great, how could you not like this thing when it has all these modes? I mean, with all these modes, you're bound to like at least one design. My favorite one is definitely Tack. I mean, like, with this awesome design, mixed with all the different versions of it, I think it definitely deserved a spot on this list. Number 9 is Groudon. Now, Groudon, I think the main reason I like Groudon so much is because he's from my favorite Pokemon game ever. And I think his design overall is, like, so cool. Like, the concept of him is awesome. And he's just, like, so big. Like, he's so big, he looks like he could destroy you in one stomp. But then there's Primal Groudon. Now, Primal Groudon is like taking regular Groudon and then just cranking the dial all the way up to 11 Primal Groudon. Now, Primal Groudon is so cool because even though it does take away the black lines, which I tend to really like black and red as a color combo, but it adds more black on the stomach and the tail. I think it makes it even look cooler. I think it makes the black even cooler, and the spikes turn black. That's amazing. And then you make all of the parts that used to be black glow lava colored. That's awesome. And honestly, I think he would be higher if it weren't for the fact that if he was in a fight, I probably wouldn't be rooting for him if he was against other Pokemon on this list. But nevertheless, I feel like Groudon is definitely one of the best. Between his primal form to his regular form, they're both awesome, and he'll definitely always have a place in my heart when it comes to the games. Number 8 is Mewtwo. Now, Mewtwo, the reason I love him so much is because I truly believe he is the strongest Pokemon. And I always thought, if I'm going to be the strongest trainer in the world, I have to have the strongest Pokemon. And I truly believe that Mewtwo is the strongest Pokemon. Even though Arceus exists, I still think Mewtwo is stronger. Even though Ultra Necrozma exists, I think Mewtwo could beat him. I don't know why. It's just a thing in my head that's registered as Mewtwo is the strongest Pokemon ever. Not Rayquaza, not Arceus, not Ultimate Necrozma, Mewtwo. And I feel like in battle, he would definitely be the one I'd be rooting for the entire time. But then the people at Pokemon decided, hey, what can make this already awesome Pokemon even cooler? A Mega Evolution. But then they said, you know what would make him even cooler? A second Mega Evolution. I mean, like, the thing is, both of these Mega Evolutions are awesome, and I honestly can't decide which one I like better. Which is why I'm so glad that you get to choose between them in the game where I'm actually able to use Mewtwo. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. You have the option to use them both in battle, which I think is great. Even though some people might call me generic or old-fashioned for liking such an old Pokemon and one that many people like, I honestly don't care at all. because Mewtwo is just that cool. Number 7 goes to the one, the only, original pseudo-legendary, Dragonite. Dragonite is weirdly satisfying to look at, especially his shiny form. Even though it's like a green that I don't find a great color, there's something weirdly satisfying about seeing it on such a like ferocious yet friendly dragon. And he looks just like so cool in battle, but when he's just in idle, he looks adorable. Plus, his evolution chain is definitely one of my favorites, considering that many people theorize that it was actually a mix-up and this was supposed to be Magikarp's evolution, which I beg to differ, but hey, let people believe what they want. Dragonite is definitely a Pokemon that I would have on my team until I ended up getting the Legendary and swap him out, because the Pseudo-Legendary is obviously a very powerful Pokemon that you want on your team, but when you get the Legendary, then it's like getting an upgrade. So that's why I really like Dragonite, and I truly believe that Dragonite is the best Pseudo-Legendary of all of them. Now, number 6 goes to Scizor. Scizor, just the only reason I like Scizor is purely because of his awesome design. Now, that's the same reason I gave for Scyther. And I feel like Scizor is just a way upgraded version of Scyther. You just took Scyther and gave him an Iron Man-like suit. But then, they decided to make Scizor a different form. Try and make him a little bit cooler. Then, Mega Scizor entered the ring. Mega Scizor is pretty much just Scizor, but slightly buffed up. And honestly, I can't really tell which one I like better. I lean a little more towards Mega Scizor, but if you asked me, I would probably say I like them about the same amount. And it's because I really do like them about the same amount, because they're both really cool Pokemon that I really enjoy looking at. And I have actually never used a Scizor because I never had the chance to evolve it. So again, the only reason I really like Scizor is just because he's just simply a really cool-looking Pokemon. Taking into consideration the Mega Evolution design, I think we've definitely got one of the best designed Pokemon ever. Number 5 goes to Sock. Sock just looks so cool to the point where while I was playing through Generation 5, I caught one and he was stronger than my starter throughout the entire game, and the first Pokemon I've ever gotten to level 100. So again, sentimental attachment. And I still think he looks really cool, and a lot of people undermine him. Now, again, like Emboar, this might scratch a few heads, and I know there are people out there who think, why would you like Sog? Like, he's so, poorly designed. It's just a guy in a karate outfit. But I still love him. I don't know why. I mean, I'm really into karate, because I used to do it, actually. But I still, love the thought of taking blue, which is my favorite color, and then adding it to a karate uniform. And it just came out looking so good, and it's really both sentimental and visually pleasing. But even though his shiny form is not very pleasing compared to other shiny forms, it barely changes, but some people have made fan art that looks pretty good, like the one I'm displaying on the screen right now. His shiny form is not great, but in fan art, it does manage to look better. So in 3D art, I'm sure they can come up to make it look better eventually. Sock is just overall a great Pokemon. Number 4 goes to Greninja. What can I say? I mean, Greninja looks so cool. And in my current Nuzlocke that I'm doing on the current Nuzlocke I'm doing in Pokemon Y, I already have a Greninja, and he's just, definitely the star of my team, and he's made it very far for a Nuzlocke. Oh, sorry, guys. And Greninja just looks so cool, especially for a Pokemon that's based on a ninja and a frog. Frogs are not very attractive creatures, But then you add the ninja part, and somehow you have an amazing Pokemon that had the coding for Smash Brothers 4 before X and Y even came out, which means Game Freak already knew, oh yeah, this is definitely going to be one of the most popular Pokemon. But then they decided to make his shiny matte black. Matte black is such a fitting color for a ninja frog. And they made the tongue red to complement the matte black a lot better. And then the blue accents that he still has just look so cool. And white and black always looks good together. And this shiny was just so well done and definitely my favorite shiny Pokemon. It's not very interesting, but definitely my favorite one. But then they said, you know what? Even with the cool shiny, he's not cool enough. So they made Ash Greninja. Ash Greninja is so cool in the anime. In the anime scenes, he looks like he's from Dragon Ball Z. Like, look at this. I mean, come on. Does that not look exactly like Dragon Ball Z? If you say no, you're lying. And then you add the matte black to the already awesome design of Ash Greninja, and it just looks so nice. And that's really the main reason I like it so much, because it just looks so nice. And then they decided to use, in Sun and Moon, they decided to use Ash Greninja as a playable thing. It really couldn't get any better than this for this Pokemon. Except there are a couple more Pokemon that just so happen to beat this by a little bit. Number 3 goes to Gallade. Now, Gallade is here because he just, again, I say this for every one of them, looks awesome. I mean, look at that helmet. And he evolves from, like, the 8th weakest Pokemon ever. That's insane. Well, I mean, he doesn't evolve from Ralts immediately, but you still have to journey from Ralts all the way to, like, Gallade. And it took me a long time, because I only got the Dawnstone to evolve him into a Gallade after Victory Road. So I had a buff Kirlia ready to fight, and I had to give him a Dawnstone in order to get him to evolve into Gallade. I already had the Galladeite, so I could almost immediately evolve, or Mega Evolve him. Speaking of Mega Gallade, he's awesome. They took Gallade and made him even more awesome. They took the elbows that looked like blades and cranked the dial way up. And then they took that thing on his head and they decided to make it into a bigger curve and somehow made it look cooler. And then they added a cape. A cape! He looks like the greatest superhero ever. But the only thing is, even though he does have a donut for hips, like, I still find it nice. And then, if it wasn't already cool enough, Gallade Shiny is also awesome. Now, look at that. They took the top of the thing, which is normally blue or teal, and they decided, hey, you know what? I think we should make that gray to blend nicely with this dark blue. And that ended up coming out so well. I mean, like, look at it. I love the blue mixed with the white, and then add the gray on top of the head. It's amazing. I love it so much. Number 2 goes to Lucario. Now, Lucario overall is awesome. He's the closest Pokemon to being number 1. And in fact, he was number 1 for pretty much my whole life. But then it changed all of a sudden because one Pokemon in particular stuck out to me. And that Pokemon is still fighting Lucario for the number 1 spot because Lucario is just so cool looking. And I really can't decide if I like him better than the person at number 1. But I've said it so many times, so I put the person at number 1 that it just so happens to be the one that I would say is my favorite Pokemon. Now, Lucario is not only awesome for having such an amazing design overall, but also he's so cool because he has Mega Lucario. Mega Lucario looks so cool. Adding the red aspect to his blue color scheme and the black stripes in between all of his face, it just comes out looking so nicely. And then they took the fur that's on his chest and made it bigger and puffy and puffed out more. And then they had it like a cape sticking out behind. That just looks awesome to me. And then everything's a bit zigzag, just to show how unstable Mega Lucario does get, like how it shows in the anime. Now, the one thing that I'm not too excited about Lucario is its shiny form. Its shiny form is not much to be desired, but I would definitely use it if I got a shiny Lucario. I would probably use it on my team. Mainly because shinies are so rare and I would want to use it if I ever captured one. But I like the color scheme of regular Lucario better, but I still think I would use it if I got a shiny one. And at least on the Mega version, it fits it a little bit better, because it changes the color just a little bit. Okay, and the all-important number one. Number one goes to... Blaziken. I mean, sure, some people don't like him because they think that literally looks like a man in a chicken suit. That's disgusting. But I love it because it looks so cool. They managed to make something like such a weird concept into something so cool. The firefighting line, it was actually Blaziken who was the first. And let's just let that sink in. People are mad because there's so many firefightings, but this was the original firefighting. But then, later on, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire release date, they made Mega Blaziken. One of the first one of the first Mega Evolutions we ever saw was Mega Blaziken. And oh boy, did it deliver on the excite behind Mega Evolution. Because it just looks so nice. I mean, the yellow and the red was not my favorite color scheme. I get it was supposed to interpret fire, but then when they changed the yellow bits to black and actually switched the colors around, it became so much better. And then they decided to change the hair of it. And the hairstyle that they decided to give it was so good. And on top of it, I like to use the Mega Evolutions a lot more. And the Mega Evolutions are just so nice. I mean, both of them are so good, but I feel like Blaziken's is just so much better than Lucario's. And that's what really sold me. Just the Mega Evolution alone made this number one for me. And to me, Blaziken is definitely the best Pokemon. So that's all I have for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed it. Tune in for next week's video. I might actually change my upload schedule because this video didn't take as long as I thought it would. But hey, maybe I still want to stick with the weekly uploads. Who knows? So check out my first channel. This is not my original channel. It's my second channel. I do tier lists and top 10s and 5s. On my first channel, I do gaming videos, so stay tuned and stay tuned and don't forget about this channel. Subscribe, please. This is the first time I've actually asked you to subscribe. Well, this is the first time for everyone. Bye. So, the way I'm gonna do things is, in the middle of the week at some point, I'm going to be posting a tier list video. So, every week you get a top 10 video, and then in the middle of the week you get a tier list video. So, that's all I wanted to say, and goodbye.